Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to my channel, I Hate Rock Music. And I'm going to do another prog band in this video. I've done a couple of prog bands, Odin being a notable one on Vertigo Records. And in this video, I'm going to talk about another band called Gracious that ended up on Vertigo Records as well. And I think they're a great band. I guess when they came out, the first album came out in 1970 on Vertigo, the infamous Vertigo Swirl label. Pretty dramatic cover with just an exclamation mark on it. And apparently didn't do that well. And they ended up getting dropped by Vertigo. And, and apparently they didn't get that great a response live as well. So they only stuck around for a couple of years. And really unfortunate. And it kind of surprises me because they really do have a lot going on. And a very interesting history as well because they started out uh, influenced by Cream and more pop music. They were called Satan's Disciples, and I think they have one single out as Satan's Disciples. And then they recorded a whole bunch of demos in 1968, including a cover of I Put a Spell on You, a Screaming Jay Hawkins tune. And they ended up reworking a couple of the tracks later, but the 68 demos, which have since been released, are definitely more pop, definitely straightforward pop, a lot of vocal work, and really kind of interesting, kind of like early Moody Blues or something like that, or more like some of the sunshine pop bands in the United States. But don't really recommend the stuff from '68. It's good, solid pop music, but not really what I'd be looking for from this band. And so they ended up playing with King Crimson in 1969, and that changed everything for him. And I have to admit, when I hear the Gracious albums, I can definitely hear some King Crimson influence. So King Crimson had a profound effect on them, it's clear. And they immediately adapted all the progressive moves. And the singer, Paul Davis, actually is reminiscent of Greg Lake at certain points, and some of their material even smacks of stuff that I've heard on King Crimson records. But let's get into the band. Paul Davis on vocals and 12 string, Alan Corduroy on guitar, Martin Kitcat on mellotron, organ, and piano, Tim Wheatley on bass, and Robert Lipson on drums. And Tim Wheatley, the bass player, ended up being in a band called Taggart that released an album in the mid 70s. So he ended up showing up again. And there was a reunion album in 1996 called Echo, but I'm not really going to involve that in this discussion. I'm going to just focus in on the original band. So they put out the Gracious album in 1970, and as I say a lot of times, it really checks all the boxes. Side two is a 20-minute long piece, and there's actually a modern fugue on there that's just keyboards and guitar, and then a lot of the stuff you would expect from a prog band of that era with a lot of really nice mellotron work, which is used in most of the material on this album. So there's a lot of cool keyboards, but they're really integrated really well with the killer rhythm section. Tim Wheatley and Robert Lipson on drums and bass are really excellent, and the guitar work is understated on most of the record, but it comes out at the right times, and he's definitely a tasty player. But there's not a lot of dramatic um, electric guitar work on it. It's definitely more of a keyboard oriented band, but with some of the distortions on the keyboards and then the mellotron, it has a pretty powerful sound, and there's a lot of really cool textures. And they don't shy away from doing a couple of acoustic numbers. And Paul Davis has a really a very appealing voice, so that really adds up to a pretty solid band. And the arrangements are really interesting and complex. There's really cool breaks in them. They're interesting odd time signatures, and they're memorable. And that's one of the important things is, in the midst of all these prog moves and all this instrumental work, to have a good singer and have some songs that are memorable. It definitely makes the band far more appealing. and the records hold up really well over the years. They put out a single before the album in 1969. They reworked a couple of their early tunes, "Beautiful," "What a Lovely Rain," and then in 1970 they put out a single, "Once a Windy Day," which is not on the album on either of their albums, and it's definitely kind of returns to more of their pop roots with a lot of vocal work. So they're definitely very capable of having a lot of harmonies and a lot of vocal work. But as far as the albums, they definitely focused in on Paul Davis as the lead singer with some nice harmonies in there. But the records are definitely dominated by a lot of instrumental work. So they got dropped by Vertigo in 1970, and then in 1971 they recorded "This Is Gracious," um, which ended up getting put out on Philips a year later, 1972, and unfortunately by that time they had disbanded because the first album just went nowhere, and they weren't getting good live reception either. So still surprises me. But they were encouraged enough by the second album coming out on Philips that they did a reunion gig in 1972, but that didn't really rekindle the old flames, and Gracious was done until 1996. And so anyway, we've got the demos. I'll include them below just because if somebody really ends up really liking this band, you might be interested in hearing their pop roots. And then the two albums are going to be posted below, and they've definitely been building up a reputation over the years. They're definitely a great, solid prog band, and kind of like Odin, they're a prog band that doesn't really sound anything like Genesis or Yes or any of those bands. They just have a completely different aesthetic, but they definitely have some similarities to King Crimson. So King Crimson, any King Crimson fans out there, and there well should be. This band is definitely worth checking out, and as the years have gone on, Gracious have definitely become more of a first-tier band. Really excellent prog band. So check them out. The links below as always. Gracious. And I should also add too that it's interesting too that the first album that came out with the striking Vertigo cover with the asterisk, the exclamation mark, actually got released in the U.S. on Capitol. So Capitol picked it up, and it had a picture, individual pictures of the band members' heads with a bunch of flowers around them, and it really kind of didn't suit the record as well as the Vertigo cover. But I think it's really cool that the record did get released in the U.S. on Capitol, and definitely collectible as well. And they even released a promo single, so they definitely tried to promote them in the U.S. I sincerely doubt they ever made it over to the U.S. to tour, but it's pretty cool that Capitol got behind them and put out the record and actually put out a single. I'm not sure what they were hoping for. In 1970, I guess the possibility of Gracious taking off in the U.S. was a possibility, but a lot of those prog bands weren't doing so great in the U.S. in 1970. So for you collectors out there, there's the two UK albums and then the US album as well. And I think they're all worth having. I always love having those alternative covers, and there's slightly different mix on the US version as well. And being an avid 45 collector, I love having a Gracious single from the US as well. So anyway, there you have it, Gracious. Great prog band. Check them out. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.